All right, Sammy, what's up?
Not much. I don't see you anymore, though, before we get started. Oh, there you are.
I'm
Okay.
good. Maybe when I
Hi.
start
Yeah.
when I start talking, I think I
Yeah.
pop up. So
Oh,
you,
okay.
yeah,
Well, I
that's
see
how
you
things
now.
go.
Everything's good. I'm just at home. It looks like you're home too, unless it's a really strange looking office. Yeah, everything's good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for talking with us. And I put out on my social media today that I was going to interview you, and fans in Canada absolutely love you. I had a bunch of
Oh,
friends reach out and say that they respect you so much, and some fans
wow.
had some questions. So we'll get to them a little later. But thank you for taking time out of your day. There's a lot going on in the world right now, a lot of heavy
Hmm.
stuff. So with COVID-19, I wanted to kind of ask you how you've been dealing with it and how you're doing, how your friends and family are dealing with it as well.
I mean, I'm fine. I feel great. I mean, I love staying home, and it's probably what I would be doing anyways. But as I was saying to someone earlier, it's just it has a bit of a different tone, I guess, when it's not your choice. But it's cool. I think this is great in a weird way. Not obviously not great in the pandemic's not great, but the lessons that we can take out of this and the um, is kind of like there's some silver lining to it in that um, it really makes you appreciate what we had, when it's taken away from you. And I don't know. I hope that when things go back to normal, whatever that means, if it ever does go back to what we knew before, that maybe people have a newfound appreciation for just little things like being able to get a roll of toilet paper or
Mhm.
to go and hang out with friends at a park. Little things that we used to take for granted. If we make it out of this healthy and alive and everything great, then there's some lessons and some perspective and some gratitude that we can take out of this whole thing.
It's interesting once we've been forced to slow down, like, we've spent more time with our family, or at least checking in on our family and talking to friends, seeing how they're doing, taking a moment to appreciate the now. I feel like before, at least I can speak from my own experience, it was like go, 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 where now it's kind of the,
Yeah.
okay, take a
I-
moment.
as strange as this is to say, I feel like we're kind of living like this is almost closer to normal than what we were doing before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
this is kind of more close to like you didn't have access to crazy convenience throughout human history like this. It's all very new. The way we live is very new, and in a strange way, we've sort of regressed to closer connections with family and neighbors
Mhm.
and a slower pace of life, which I think is actually you know weirdly to say more normal than what we were used to before.
Oh,
But
and so
whatever, that's a whole
important.
other conversation.
Have you
Yeah.
talked to any other WWE superstars on the roster, see how they're doing?
Yeah, just a handful of people. I just my assumption is that everyone is at home, and I'm not the best at keeping in touch with text and all that stuff. But yeah, a couple of people just like, hey, how you doing? I would imagine that some of them are climbing the walls because when you get used to that go 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 lifestyle, all of a sudden you have to be alone,
Yep.
and it's an adjustment for people for sure. But yeah, I just assume everybody's doing good because I haven't heard anything otherwise as far as anybody being sick or anything like that. I haven't heard of anything like that. So uh, thank God. So yeah, just assume everybody's doing okay. Hold up at home.
Amazing. That's great. Okay. Intercontinental champion. Congratulations. How's
Thank
that
you.
feel
Thank
at
you.
Elimination Chamber? You finally won your first title on the main roster. It was incredible seeing your reaction, fan reaction, people who are in WWE's reaction. What was that moment like for you?
Uh, yeah, it was pretty cool, I guess. It's been interesting because I haven't had a normal run, whatever you want to call it, because there's been no fans since. So pretty much that last show at Elimination Chamber, I want to say then there was Monday Night Raw the next night, and then that's it. No more live shows. So it's been interesting because it's been hard to gauge. Um, it's hard to gauge reactions without people reacting. So you don't know if what you're doing, how effective it is, because you don't have the standard barometer there of the fans' reactions to kind of gauge how effective what you're doing is. But I don't know. I always just go with the assumption that what I'm doing is really great. So I think it's okay.
We're all behind you here, but we were just
Yeah.
talking about that on Aftermath, and I asked Anthony Corelli, what it must be like to typically come out to a live
Great
audience.
guy.
Oh, he's so awesome. You'll
Yeah, great guy.
love him.
Yeah.
A pop of an audience or a cheer or a boo, and you know that you're doing your job really well. But how do you mentally prepare now for coming out with no live audience? And that's got to be like a very big transition in such a short period of time for you guys.
Well, I have to say, and this, I don't know if this is the answer that some would expect, and I can't speak for other WWE superstars, but I weirdly love performing in front of nobody. It's like in the ring, your work has to be just like tighter and more laser focused, and there's no like how would I say, you could almost the crowd, it could kind of cover up some bad work sometimes in a weird way, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you do something half effectively, but the crowd responds, then it's kind of covered up. But if it's half effective and it's not, there's no crowd to cover it up, it's just half effective. So it kind of forces you to up your game and like be tighter and more laser focused on what you're doing, without having to worry about getting the fans' reaction. So there's aspects of it that I really enjoyed that I was actually a little surprised by, because I thought like everybody else, well, this is going to be weird. But then, I did it and I was like, oh, this kind of rules. I really like this. And I think, when WrestleMania airs tomorrow, I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised. I mean, maybe they've had some time to adjust because it's been a few weeks now, but I think fans are going to be pleasantly surprised by seeing these big time matches, even in front of nobody, because I think it forces everybody to up their game,
Do you feel like that's enforced more pressure on the superstars, or do you guys feel like there's less pressure now because there's not, let's say, 80,000+ people watching you live?
Well, I can only speak from my experience, but certainly when I was about to go out for whatever it was I'm doing over these past few weeks, I didn't have that same, butterflies in the stomach or adrenaline or nerves or whatever before I went out. But when I was out there, it was the adrenaline was flowing maybe even more than when fans are there. So, it's harder to get in the mental space without, the fans being out there. So you don't amp yourself out in the same way. Like, for example, doing the entrance with Shinsuke Nakamura, where usually I'm freaking out and I'm spazzing out or whatever. That seemed a little like music just hit and I just walked out and there was nobody there. And I'm kind of like, all right, I'll move my limbs everywhere or whatever. That felt a little weird. But then once you're actually in it, for me, it was like, I don't know, it was kind of intense.
It's
Maybe even
interesting.
more so than maybe even more so than if fans were there.
It's interesting with athletes how when you guys are positioned in the face of adversity, you really do have the tools to figure it out. And I think that's been really interesting to see with WWE lately. And I want to know from your perspective now, how have you been preparing for this WrestleMania? You're defending your Intercontinental title. This is huge against Daniel Bryan, So I think that there's, a lot of momentum going into this match. What's the prep been like for you specifically?
I guess, well, so part of the prep was just physically, I'm a little concerned because I haven't wrestled in so long. So I was a little worried about getting blown up real bad or whatever, just not having my ring conditioning to where it needs to be, especially if you're in the ring with someone like Daniel Bryan, who's a machine. But otherwise it's just another show, honestly. I mean, I know that's not how we like to sell it to people. Like, no, this is the biggest, craziest show ever. And it is. It's a unique time period, and it's still WrestleMania and all that. But as far as preparation, it's just like, for me, that's kind of been the only concern is, I hope I don't get blown up too bad.
You won't. And no, and I appreciate that because it's a very real answer. Daniel Bryan, what makes him so special in the ring?
He's just really good. I mean, he's really, really good. Yeah, I think, I think of all the guys that have come up in our generation, myself, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, I think he was always just a few steps ahead of all of us at all times. And I think he still is. He's just really, really good. He's probably the best of us, I think, of performers of our sort of generation that came up together from the independents. I'd probably put him at number one, and he's just very, very well-rounded. He's good at everything.
What will you have to do to defend, to keep your title after WrestleMania 36 against Daniel Bryan?
I don't know. Whatever I have to.
Sneaky.
Yeah.
We expect something sneaky from you. Your thoughts on it being a 2-night event?
Oh, I love it. It. I've been advocating that for years because WrestleMania is just so great. We have so much great talent now, and so many blockbuster matches that we're able to put together. And but when you put too much of a good thing, I mean, there is such thing as too much of a good thing. I mean, I love ice cream, but you don't want to eat 2 liters of it. You feel sick. So it's the same thing with WrestleMania. It's like you have this amazing thing. But, when you give 14 incredible matches back to back to back, the fans just get tuckered out. There's just no way around it. They're emotionally spent by the end. So I just think it's great. I honestly hope that, if the world is sort of back to whatever it was prior to all this, that when next year's WrestleMania rolls around, I hope it's a 2-day festival just like this. I really hope I hope this is the way forward. And what's really cool is I don't know which matches are on which day. And I don't know if fans do, or I don't know anything. So I'm just kind of watching it as a fan in that same regard. I'm really, really excited to watch it myself. So I hope fans are as excited as I am, because I'm not usually all that excited.
We definitely are. And I was just talking to a friend, and it's, there's so much going on in the world right now that it's very nice to actually know this week, and that we'll be able to sit back and watch sports entertainment.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to. Yeah,
exactly. So we're so pumped. It'll be very interesting. I like what WWE's been doing, with No Live Audience. The one segment where Stone Cold came out and said, "Can I get a hell yeah?" And then they showed an empty, it's creative. It's what needs to happen. And I actually started laughing out loud by myself. So, I'm really,
That's
really
awesome.
looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to do. So, I think that there's a lot of support, obviously a lot of curiosity, but I think that you guys you're doing a really good job with rolling with the punches right now. I mean, it can't be an easy time for you guys either. So we'll see.
Yeah, but you know what? No more so than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You everybody's adjusting. I mean, you're doing this interview right now in your apartment. You're adjusting. Everyone's just adjusting. So we're just doing the same thing. I don't think it's any more special when we do it versus the next people. We're just doing what we got to do. But I do think, again, just to your point about empty arena wrestling, and I know I've already been singing the virtues of empty arena wrestling, but another thing that I just think is so cool is, you hear everything now. You hear like the little trash talk, and you're able to just, I don't know, man. It's so much more laser focused. I'm really excited to watch WrestleMania this year. I genuinely am, and I'm not just saying that to promote the event. I'm genuinely curious and interested, and I can't wait to watch it. And I hope people watch it in huge numbers, because, as you said, it's something to look forward to. And I hope they dig it. I'm really excited.
I'm right there with you, Sammy. Now tell me, what's the craziest trash talk line you've ever said to anyone? I wasn't going to let that one go.
I don't want to say, I don't know, because I've said some crazy things, especially like in the last, I don't know what it's been, 8 months, where I've been like ringside, especially on the live events. I'll get pretty mouthy out there ringside for sure. So I've said some things in the heat of the moment that I'm sure are regrettable. But the first thing that came to my mind, this is not good trash talk by anything, and this is actually not even in WWE. This is just the first thing that came to my mind when you asked this question. But about, I don't know, it has to be 10 or 12 years ago. This is like at a little bar in Quebec. I was wrestling in a tag match against Kevin Owens, and it was a rare, I don't know if you know anything about my past life, but I didn't always wrestle with my face exposed. And so this was a rare time when I was not only wrestling with my face exposed, but I was a bad guy, which I'd only done until I turned bad in WWE. I'd done it maybe a handful of times ever. And I never really thought I was all that good at it. And this incident might have been one of those contributing factors as to why I thought that, because I was beating up Kevin Owens' partner in the ring, and Kevin Owens was waiting on the apron to make the tag. So the guy, almost tags Kevin, but I stop him and I start putting the boots to him. And then I look up at Kevin and I want to say something dastardly. And the only thing that came out of my mouth is I said, "You'll never see the light of day." And I remember Kevin, like, he was in the moment and it just completely took him out of it. And he said, what? And then I just burst out laughing because I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means.
You're too nice. You're too pure. That's amazing. I have to ask Kevin Owens about that next time I talk to him.
I think he'll remember that one. You'll never see the light of day. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
There needs to be a shirt with your face on it that says "You'll never see the
light."
Yeah.
That's when I realized I'm not that quick-witted and I'm not that good at being a bad guy. But then, that was 12 years ago, and I think I've been sinking my teeth into this role a little bit more recently, and I've really been enjoying it. That's for sure.
You've been doing a great job. That's an amazing story.
Thank you. Yeah.
You'll never. Next time someone makes me upset, I'm going to say, "You know what? You'll never see the light of day."
Yeah, and then just watch their confused reaction and take a little joy in that, and then just leave.
That's amazing. Quickly, before we head to fan questions, you battled a lot of injuries over the years. Now being Intercontinental champion, did that make it all worth it, battling through those injuries? Because that couldn't have been easy.
I don't know if anything is worth anything. I think that's that's a way we like to frame our struggles. But yeah, I don't know. What's anything worth?
Did you find?
So I'll say this: each of those injuries, it's just this crazy journey. And you don't know how it's going to go, and you don't know what horrible thing is going to lead to a great thing, and what great thing is going to lead to a horrible thing. Like, you just don't know. It's all just part of this amazing, crazy ride. So I don't look at it in terms of like, well, was this worth that? Or to me, it's just one big crazy mess of stuff happening on this ride, not only of my career, but life in general. It's just like this crazy thing. And, you could ask anybody that question about anything, like, oh, if this terrible thing didn't happen to you, it might not have led to this great thing happening to you next, And so that's just the great cosmic mystery, or whatever you want to call it. It's just stuff happening, and sometimes some bad stuff happens, and sometimes some good stuff happens. So it sucked getting hurt for sure, and it's pretty cool now being in this position. So. I don't know.
No, I actually really enjoy.
Take that however you want.
No, I really enjoy that perspective, because over the course of my life, I've even learned to just, even when bad things or good things happen, just go with the flow. So, it's a big perspective and almost silver lining in some of these situations.
I just think, like, I don't know, maybe it's all this quarantine time, but it makes you start thinking in like these really philosophical terms. And I'm like, I don't know, why do we use these terms, and why do we frame questions this way? Like, was it worth it? I don't know. I don't know. Why do we think that way? Like, no, just stuff happens, and some of it's good and some of it's not good. Well, look, I mean, I'm also talking about when you're on a marathon ride, like I have been with pro wrestling or with WWE or whatever. That's when it's like, I stop asking myself those kind of questions about like worth or whatever when you're on this extended ride.
Right.
Like if I spend $50 on a meal and it sucks, then I'll be like, oh, that wasn't worth it. You know what I mean? But when you're investing 18 years of your life or whatever it is, into this journey, and like some good stuff happens and some bad stuff happens, I think you're past the point of looking at the worth of it all,
It's a perfect answer. I love that answer.
Thank you.
Have you ever spent $60 on a meal that you hated?
Maybe not 60. See, because I don't drink alcohol, and that saves you a lot of money. You know,
There
because
you
if you
go.
go to a nice dinner, a bottle of wine, I don't know, what is it, like $100?
I'm not a big wine.
I don't know.
Actually, though, quarantine has
I
made me develop a taste for red wine, which I said I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I typically
Yeah.
don't drink either. So
Yeah. So I don't know what, I don't know. I've definitely had some meals and I go, oh. It's weird because I make a little more money now. Well, certainly I make a lot more money now than I did, 15 years ago or whatever. But I still have like poor person brain. So I still look at a meal. I'm like, $30 for a plate of pasta. What? It's not because I can't afford the meal. It's just like, that's
absurd.
That's not worth it. Yeah. Yeah. So I still have that wired into my brain a little bit. So I don't know. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is like some stuff when you talk about like a cost of something, I don't look at my career in those terms.
No, it's great.
That's all. I'm sorry if I'm holding the camera really weird because I'm trying to like not get my couch line to be diagonal like this.
No, Sami, I actually throughout this entire interview, I was like, you deserve mad props for the fact that your arm's been out like that holding your phone.
Yeah, I've had some techniques to where I'm resting it on my knee. I don't know. I'm doing my best here.
That'll get you ready for WrestleMania. Okay, to quickly end, we do a fun thing on Aftermath called 3 Count, where I ask you 3 quick random questions. But this time the segment's 3 questions from Aftermath TV fans who love you. So the first question is what is your favorite match that you've been in during your time with WWE and NXT, and do you have a dream match?
Off the top of my head, I'd say my match with Shinsuke Nakamura is probably up there. My match with Neville in NXT, my match with Kevin Owens at, what was it, Battleground or something like that. So those are the first few that jump off the top of my head. I know I should have probably just picked one, but whatever.
No,
those
great.
Kind of all just flood to the front there. And what was the second half of that question? Do I have a dream match?
Yep.
So wrestling Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania was honestly one of my kind of dream matches. I think at this point, the last dream match I'd have left is with Kevin Owens one-on-one at WrestleMania as well. Or maybe a prolonged kind of match with Rey Mysterio. I still never really had that. I'd love to wrestle Rey Mysterio.
Well, those are good answers. Well, you know what? Good luck to you this weekend. Was
that all 3 questions?
No, sorry. I do this weird thing where it's called 3 count, and I make it like 10 count because I'm sneaky like that. But no, you have 2 more questions.
Oh, okay. I thought you were wrapping it up.
No. You're not leaving just yet. Who's on your Mount Rushmore at WWE?
So what is Mount Rushmore? 4 people?
Yep.
I don't know, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Steve Austin. That's just off the top of my head.
Nice. Solid. And do you have a favorite concert that you've been to or a favorite band or musician?
Yeah, there's a ton. I'd say the musicians I'm listening to the most these days are one's a Canadian punk band called Propagandhi. I've been listening to a lot of them. I've been listening to a lot of Bob Dylan. In fact, nice. I was just listening to this record right before you called.
Nice.
Am I holding that right? You see it?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And then, the Mountain Goats is another band I've been listening to a lot lately. So, I got a lot of bands that kind of go through, I go through these phases where I'm listening to one band more than the other, but yeah, music's a huge part of my life, but those are the bands that I would say are in most circulation at the moment. Amazing.
All right. Well, that wraps up 3 count. That pretty much wraps up this entire interview. Sami, you're awesome. Yeah. And your camera holding abilities are pretty awesome there too. So thanks so much.
A little shoulder workout here. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No, seriously, this was awesome. I appreciate now having in my mind to tell someone they'll never see the light of day.
Yeah.
So
you got that in your back pocket now.
I do. It's so great. So thanks so much. Have fun this weekend. Hopefully we can chat after WrestleMania. We can talk about how awesome it was. So thanks for sharing all that.
Thanks. Enjoy WrestleMania. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. All right. See you. Bye.
Bye.